You have 2 weeks to finish a project. You do nothing for 13 days. Then on the last night, you sit down, lock in, and finish the whole thing in 4 hours. And somehow it's good. Sometimes it's the best work you've ever done. Why does this happen? Why can your brain do in 4 hours what it refused to do in 2 weeks? It turns out your brain isn't broken. It's running exactly the way it was designed to. In 1955, a British historian named Cyril Parkinson noticed something strange. He watched government workers take an entire day to do tasks that should have taken 30 minutes, not because the tasks were hard, but because the workers had all day to do them. He wrote about an elderly woman whose only task for the day was to send a postcard. She spent the entire day doing it, an hour finding the card, half an hour finding her glasses, 90 minutes writing it. The task filled the day because the day was available. Parkinson called this principle, work expands to fill the time available for its completion. Give yourself a week to write a report, it takes a week. Give yourself 2 hours, it takes 2 hours. The work didn't change, the time changed, and your brain adjusted to match. But Parkinson's law only explains half the story. It explains why you waste time when you have it. It doesn't explain why you suddenly become a genius when you don't. For that, we need to go inside your brain. Your brain has 2 systems fighting for control. The first is the prefrontal cortex. This is your rational brain. It plans, organizes, and thinks long-term. The second is the limbic system. This is your emotional brain. It wants comfort, pleasure, and reward right now. Every time you sit down to work on something with a distant deadline, these 2 systems go to war. The rational brain says, we should start now. It's due in 2 weeks. The emotional brain says, 2 weeks? Relax, we have time. And the emotional brain almost always wins, because comfort feels better than effort. Your brain is wired to choose the easy option. So you scroll your phone, you reorganize your desk, you clean your room, you do anything except the actual work. This isn't laziness. It's your limbic system protecting you from discomfort. Starting a hard task feels threatening to your emotional brain. But then the deadline gets close, and something changes. Your brain detects a threat. Not a physical threat, but the threat of failure, embarrassment, consequences. And your body responds the same way it would if you saw a bear. It floods you with adrenaline and cortisol. Your heart rate increases, your focus sharpens, distractions disappear. Your brain enters a state that psychologists call optimal arousal. This is the Yerkes-Dodson law, discovered in 1908. It says that your performance improves as stress increases, but only up to a point. Too little stress and you're bored, unfocused, scrolling your phone. Too much stress and you freeze, panic, can't think. But right before a deadline, you hit the sweet spot. Just enough pressure to activate your best performance. That's why your 4-hour panic session produces better work than 2 weeks of casual effort. Your brain was literally running on a different chemical cocktail. The adrenaline sharpens your focus, the cortisol raises your energy, and because there's no time left, your brain stops second-guessing. It just executes. But there's another reason you work better at the last minute. And this one might surprise you. When you have 2 weeks, you don't just procrastinate, you overcomplicate. You research too much, plan too much, revise too much, add features nobody asked for, rewrite sentences that were already fine. Extra time doesn't make your work better, it makes you overthink. And overthinking is the enemy of good work. But at the last minute, you don't have time to overthink. You only have time to do. And doing is almost always better than perfecting. There's a psychological term for this. It's called the planning fallacy. Psychologist Daniel Kahneman discovered that humans consistently underestimate how long tasks will take, but they also overestimate how long tasks need to take. You think a report needs 8 hours. It needs 3.
The other 5 hours are filler your brain invented. When the deadline forces you to work in 3 hours instead of 8, you're not cutting corners, you're cutting filler. Think about studying for an exam. The night before, you memorize more in 3 hours than you did in 3 weeks of casual studying. It's the same principle. The pressure eliminated every distraction, every "I'll do it later," every unnecessary break. Your brain basically said the only options right now are work or fail, and failing isn't an option. So you work. That binary choice is incredibly powerful. When your brain has no easy way out, it stops looking for one and starts executing. So here's what this means about you. You're not lazy, your brain is just waiting for the right chemical conditions to activate. The problem isn't that you can't focus, it's that your brain won't focus until the threat is real enough. And here's the trick. You can create that pressure artificially without waiting for a real deadline. Set a timer for half the time you think a task will take, not because you're rushing, but because you're removing the filler your brain would have invented. Tell someone your deadline is earlier than it actually is. Now the social pressure simulates the real thing. Break a big project into tiny pieces, each with its own deadline. Your brain treats every mini deadline like the final one. Work in focused sprints, 25 minutes of pure work, 5 minutes of rest. Repeat. And remove the escape routes. Put your phone in another room, close every tab, lock yourself into the task. You're not tricking yourself, you're giving your brain the conditions it needs to perform. You're manufacturing the deadline effect without the panic. Most people think productivity is about discipline. It's not. It's about pressure. The right amount of pressure at the right time. Your brain was never broken. It was waiting for the signal that says, "This matters. Do it now." Parkinson's law, the Yerkes-Dodson law, the planning fallacy. 3 principles that explain why you do your best work at midnight the day before something is due. Next time you catch yourself doing nothing with a deadline in the distance, remember your brain isn't lazy, it's just saving its best performance for when it matters most.